Retro lunch break.
Yes.
Retro lunch break with Nick and Rick.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Retro Lunch Break, the podcast. And in this episode, we got something very special for you. And it starts off with a rhyme. Are you ready for this? I hope you're ready for this. 1, 2, Nick is coming for you. 3, 4, Eddie's at the door. 5, 6, better get your Rick. Ooh,
pretty good.
There you go, gentlemen.
That's pretty good.
Yes, we are talking about horror movies, but not just any kind of horror movies. We're talking about specifically horror movies in the 80s.
Yes.
This is another edition of our movies through the decades. We have decided to move up to the 80s now, and we're going to look at one specific genre, which is horror movies, which is a special treat that I've given to you, Eddie, and to you, Nick.
Yeah,
I have stated in the past that I am not a fan of horror movies, so I may not be able to do so much talking in this episode, but let's go ahead and start off with something very, very popular. Again, we're going to go with thank you, IMDb, for being able to give us a list of great movies from the specific decade that we're talking about. So going off of their list, their number one movie listed off is The Shining.
I don't agree. No.
Oh, that was quick. Yeah, right off the bat, right?
The list is wrong.
Okay, so we're talking about The Shining. I'll start off with this one that, I know of it. I've never actually seen it.
Okay.
But I know of it because it's referenced so often in other media that, it's so iconic and so special. And
pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah. I think maybe the first time I ever saw it was, a reference to it was in The Simpsons.
Okay.
Right? With the Treehouse of Horrors episode when they do the whole bit. It's almost like they practice the whole movie.
They do the whole movie,
right?
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, where Homer types
no
up...
No TV, no beer makes Homer go something.
Something, yeah.
Go crazy. Don't mind if I do. And he looks in the mirror and scares himself.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's so good. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Other than that, that's my references to it. I know, I want to say I know The Shining, but I just know it through other media. Nick, do you have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen The Shining.
You have seen it.
Yes,
okay.
I've seen The Shining.
Now, this is probably going to be a running gag throughout this list. At what age did you watch this movie? Because this is rated R.
I want to say it was around.
This is a rated R movie, and
probably 5 to 7 years old.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I only know of that one scene that has that woman that turns very old, which I know that because of Ready Player One.
Okay.
Now, you were 5. I'm sorry. What did you say?
5 to 7, somewhere in there. I had older cousins who, when they got the pick at the movie store, they used to rent horror, and if I wanted to hang out with them, I was watching horror movies. So I got used to them really quick, and it's a big reason why I love this decade of horror so much, is because my childhood, so much time spent watching these movies. Yeah. Some of these movies, I haven't seen The Shining probably since I was an early teenager. So it's been years and years since I've seen The Shining.
Since you mentioned that, now it seems to be like a big thing now is reboots or I want to say remakes,
reboots.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because reboot would change the storyline, but a remake would be the exact same thing, but just done nowadays.
Very similar. Yeah.
Now let's ask this question for The Shining. Do you think perhaps this is a movie that could use a remake?
I don't know if it's a movie that could use a remake.
Or benefit from it?
I don't know if it could benefit from it. Let's real quick. Sorry, I'll just go off this real quick.
No, go ahead.
It scared me as a kid.
Oh.
It was a made-for-TV movie. It was scary. It was creepy. Clowns are creepy.
John Ritter, yeah.
Yeah. John Ritter was in it, and Tim Curry played Pennywise, and just
Tim Curry as Pennywise.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yes,
And it had the guy from Night Court in it.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, and I want to say Seth Green was one of the kids.
Really?
In the kid side, he was the comedian kid. I can't remember his name right now.
Really?
Yeah. So Seth Green's in it, but when they said they were first remaking it into a movie, I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know if it's going to work out well, and boy was I wrong, because it was great. And part 2 comes out, wow, that's probably going to be equally as phenomenal. So could The Shining be good as a remake? Yes, because Stephen King stories. Stephen King, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Stephen
Stephen
King.
King.
Stephen King stories can be creepy and well done in movies.
Oh no, sorry, Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, Stanley Kubrick. That's right, Stanley Kubrick. Sorry.
Stanley Kubrick.
Well,
What
he
movie
wrote the
am I thinking
novel.
of? Yeah,
Stephen King's novel.
Stephen King's novel. Stanley
Yeah,
Kubrick
is the director.
Is the
Oh,
director,
okay.
correct? Yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you.
it is a Stephen King story. Good. I'm not crazy on that. So it's just a really well written story. It could be good. I don't know if I need it. Would I see it? Yes.
I would see it too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've enjoyed a lot of the remakes.
Yeah, Eddie,
That's just me.
Yeah. Now going off to the beginning of the conversation is The Shining. Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
You have seen
Yes.
it. How do you feel about it? Oh no, I'm sorry. What
At
age?
what age?
At what age?
The age, I honestly don't remember.
I remember being really young.
I remember at least being maybe a teenager when I saw it, because I don't have that memory of not seeing it as a kid. So I think I was a teenager, and I've recently watched it maybe like a couple of years ago again.
That sounds more reasonable. This sounds like as a teenager, you'd probably realize that you heard about this movie and you realized that you had access to it, and you're like, oh, we gotta watch this, and sneak it in and then watch it, when everybody's asleep or something.
But the crazy thing about me is, like, a lot of the movies that I saw as a kid or as a teenager, I didn't really grasp how amazing those movies were, how like it became pop culture.
Yeah,
A lot of people, so
yeah.
I have to go back and be like, now I have to rewatch the whole thing because I need to ensure, that I realize how amazing these movies really are.
That's a great point, because at the first development of these movies, do you think like they were trying to achieve something that would be so stirring, or do you even think that was like a purpose or a direct intent of the director, the writers?
I have heard that
directors.
some directors probably think it's not going to be a big hit,
Yeah,
and it later becomes like because I think that's what I heard on the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Like by the third movie, they were
Well, I mean-
realizing how much money this was making, and actually. set
Well,
it
that's
off.
by the third movie. Let's just say it's because The Shining is just The Shining by
It's just
itself.
Yeah, just by itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you
So
think
over time.
perhaps that the director knew that it was going to become such a cultural
Stanley
phenomenon?
Kubrick?
Yeah.
Probably.
Him,
It's
yeah.
Stanley Kubrick. I mean, Stanley Kubrick in the
Well-
80s, he had already had the 60s and 70s
Yeah.
behind him with Clockwork Orange and Apocalypse Now, Eraserhead. It was Eraserhead in the 80s. Dr. Strangelove. I mean, he was a premier director at the time, so I'm sure that the studios knew that this was going to be a hit to a degree.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that is true.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay, interesting. Now, Eddie, I think you did mention, but if you could just reiterate for me, what do you think if this could benefit from a remake or a reboot, or you think the original is good enough?
It would benefit me, Ricky.
It would
benefit me
Oh, okay.
because I just enjoy just remakes.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I kind of say like me personally for me because I just enjoy them. Like, they might even be shitty remakes.
Yeah.
I just would like to watch them.
I would give it a shot,
Yeah.
a remake. I would give a remake a shot on it, but it's just, just going back, it was a made-for-TV movie, so it was tame. Good actors in it, but it was very tame.
Yeah,
So making
yeah.
it into an R-rated movie was easy. This was already an R-rated movie. This movie is just one of those horror classics that sometimes they remake horror classics, and when we get to a certain street, we'll talk about that.
I see what you're going there with that. Okay, let's
I didn't understand that hint.
Good.
No,
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Cool.
then let's wrap up the Shining discussion with any favorite lines. Any favorite?
Well, I mean, honestly, there's the one line from the movie that
yeah,
everyone
if the
knows.
one you
Everybody
could
knows it.
pick, would you? Okay, are you both going to say the
It's
same
when
thing?
when he hits through with the axe, the
yeah.
door pops his head in, he goes, "Here's Johnny."
Yeah.
And that I heard was ad-libbed.
Really?
Yeah, that wasn't in the script. I heard that was Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yeah.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson ad-libbing that line.
Wow.
I could be wrong, but I
Wow,
remember
okay.
reading that somewhere.
Just to say for all of our listeners out there, both Nick and Eddie, we're starting to do the hand motion with the axe
through the
before they
door,
said
yeah,
anything,
yeah.
and I immediately knew what they were talking about, which was very, very funny. And that's an really interesting fact that was an ad-libbed line. Yeah, which is so interesting because it's like if we can go into this for a second, how serious the actors take these roles. Where he has to. I think if I understand the plot of the movie is that he imagined all of it. It was all
Yeah, it was all like a snowblind psychosis dream. Not the actual killing of his family, but all of the other things around him. Yes,
yeah.
The blood in the elevator, the twins, all that kind of stuff was all.
I mean, that's
neuroses
gotta
and
be a lot.
the bar scene with him.
yeah.
Yeah. So those were all supposedly in the head.
Yeah. Which for an actor to take it on so serious, and then to come up with a
Well, I mean, it pays off in the movies.
yeah, absolutely.
You
it
can
does.
tell when an actor really cares about a part versus when an actor's phoning it in.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes your view on a movie. You can tell when an actor's not there. They're just like, well, I guess I'm collecting a paycheck. And you're like, oh, that sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually something interesting I heard about the movie that I didn't pick up on or found out, but somebody was saying that there are some, I guess, things about him abusing his son. I don't know if you heard about that.
No,
like,
I've never heard of that.
Because I just recently watched a YouTube video, and I missed this. I forgot about the scene where there's like a bear giving fellatio to a man in the room.
Yeah.
When
What?
when Wendy goes up there, she sees like this guy bending down without but he just comes up, you see a bear, and it's supposed to be like all these ideas of like this sexual abusiveness that's been happening.
Really? I didn't know.
It just blew my mind because I did not pick up on
yeah.
anything of that. Like there's like a scene where he's talking, like where his son comes in, he's like, oh, come over here, Daniel, I want to talk to you. And then the kid himself ends up saying, like, you're not going to hurt us, right, Dad? Or your mom? And he's like, oh, I wouldn't hurt you,
Yeah.
And it's something like the music, the tone, it has like this meaning behind
Maybe
it.
it's someone reading into it. Maybe it was meant
exactly.
to be.
I don't know. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I feel like I need to now rewatch it again just to see if I can pick up on those things.
Wow. Yeah. I am not going to watch this movie. All right. So let's go on to our second movie on the list. This is a good one. I'm going to say I've seen the sequel to it, but we're going to talk about the first one, Gremlins.
Oh,
yes.
Gremlins. Yeah.
We can talk about both.
I have seen.
I'm fine talking about the Gremlins series.
Okay.
We can do series when we come across. I don't mind.
That's the great point because I know the second one a lot more than the first one, but I have seen the first
The
one.
second one's not a horror movie.
It's a comedy.
The first one's barely a horror movie, but it's considered a horror movie.
I think a Gremlins 2 is a great example of something being meta before meta was a thing.
Yeah.
But
realizing that after the first movie that it was kids were attracted to Gizmo and the Gremlins more than the adults were for a horror movie, so kind of changing the tone of the movie to be a little more cutesy and fun. Like in Gremlins 2, he puts on a bandana and pretends to be John Rambo.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a time. But the first Gremlins is great.
Yeah, the first one, it's would you consider it a Christmas movie?
It's like saying Die Hard's a Christmas movie,
Die
right?
Hard is a Christmas movie. I will go down in record right now.
Wow,
Die Hard
okay.
is a Christmas movie.
Just because it happens around Christmas time doesn't make it a Christmas movie. That's all I'm saying.
It ends with a Christmas song. It is a Christmas movie. Thank you very much. So going back to Gremlins itself. So Gremlins, I mean, that's a pretty...
Such a cool movie.
Because they take over the whole town. I'm sorry. Let's start off with Nick. You've seen it, yes.
Okay.
Eddie, have you seen Gremlins?
I've seen it, yes.
Yeah, I've seen Gremlins too, but I remember seeing this a long, long time ago. I know I didn't
Not
see
as
it
in
in
Gremlins
my...
also, but as in Gremlins Part 2.
No, not Gremlins 2, but no, as in Gremlins 2. Also, yeah.
Oh, as in also, okay.
Yeah, also, yes, as in also. I remember seeing this, I think, probably in my late teens, the first one. And I saw how they took over the town and Phoebe Cates, how Phoebe Cates' stories start. I think the original story was her father in the fireplace. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's the original why Phoebe Cates' character doesn't like Christmas is because forgive me if I'm getting this incorrect. The original story that Phoebe Cates tells, where she goes off and she starts staring into the distance. Phoebe Cates is a great actress, by the way, where she starts to explain that I think a few weeks before Christmas, her father went missing, and they thought that he just had abandoned them.
How come I don't remember this from the movie?
And she starts to explain that it's Christmas Day. They start a fire and they start to notice a smell. And what had happened is that the father had gotten stuck in the chimney, and So Eddie has a very shocked expression on his face, and from there they realized what had happened, and he had done it in an attempt to come down as Kris Kringle and surprise the kids and everything. So it turned out to be this horrific moment for her, and then ever since then she had despised Christmas. And that leads into her stories that she constantly tells during the second one. I think she tells like two. If you have to remember, don't recall.
No, I remember the major plot points from that movie. I haven't seen Gremlins in years.
Yeah, I haven't seen. Gremlins. I haven't seen Gremlins in years either, as I said, as explained. But if I am not mistaken, that was the reasoning behind her constant storytelling, how she doesn't like holidays. But that was So I don't know. Do you have any memorable moments from Gremlins, Eddie?
I don't.
No?
I saw that as a kid.
Yeah, I saw
That
it
when
as a
I saw
kid.
that as a kid, it never interested me to go back and watch
Oh,
it as an
I
adult,
really,
actually.
yeah, I should go back and watch. It's one of those movies, but there's too many to watch.
Yeah.
But I just the whole feel, especially in the first one when they've taken over the town and Gizmo finally goes out, and the first time he meets Spike in the home gardening center with the fountain, and Spike's in the fountain getting water on himself so that
Yeah.
he can make more.
Which is gross.
It's gross, but it's
very
also
gross, yeah.
it's a very eerie setting for that, and it's cool. It's just really cool. I just really that's one of those scenes from that movie that I've always really enjoyed. Yeah, I like her.
Yeah, I like it too.
Gizmo's great.
Yeah, Gizmo is super cute.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's-
like how they trick him to feed them after midnight when they're still
They-
mogwais.
They change the
They
clock.
change the clock on him with that, and then he gives them like chicken wings, and I
Yeah.
just remember that
Yeah.
too. And then he wakes up in the morning, and there's all the cocoons all over the attic.
Yeah, which is great. I'm glad you brought that up because it's practical, effects that they use. They actually have like mechanical dolls that are doing this, and I thought it looked great
It did.
for then, and I think it still holds up even now.
Yeah.
Even the Gremlins, the way they look, and I'm curious. I'm curious to know, how does Spike get his name? Because I don't think he ever gets named Spike, but there's always that Mohawk one
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
that becomes the leader
Yeah.
of the bad guys,
I
or
don't
even
know.
the Mogwais.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why he's called Spike.
But his name is Spike. Yeah,
I thought it was.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm
No,
pretty
it's true. I'm pretty sure
yeah.
it's canon that his name is Spike. It's
Okay.
always the Mohawk one is always called Spike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the second one?
Second one is hilarious
Yes.
and good and just a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
With all the genetic engineering in
Yeah,
it and all
yeah.
the different ones. It's such a fun that just takes it, that made it a kid's movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because I recall when I was younger, they always played that on Channel 5 on the weekends. They always played
Really?
Gremlins too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I always love that movie. Yeah.
Okay. I would say Gremlins is one of those movies where I have mixed memories. Like I don't, because remember the
One-
lipstick, is that from 2?
That's from
from
2.
two,
That's from
yeah.
2. That's from genetic
So
engineering. Yeah,
that's the one
for
where I
you,
get mixed,
1
yeah.
and 2 kind of bleed
Kind of
together.
bleed together, yeah.
Yeah. One of them gets the female genetic potion and drinks it and becomes a female gremlin,
Yeah.
which is interesting because I guess that they have genders. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they have genders
Well,
because they
yeah.
reproduce by water.
By
I think
water, yeah,
that
that's-
she becomes a gender once the potion gives her human-like genders. Like the
Yeah.
other ones become smart. One turns into like a bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they take on whatever it is.
One
so.
becomes a bat. One
Yeah.
becomes smart. I wish I could remember who he talks. Who does the
I
voice?
can't remember the voice. Yeah.
But they do the whole talk show skit with
Yeah.
them. Yeah, and he does start singing New York, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there's the one that turns into electricity.
Mhm.
There's one.
The one they catch in the what's it called, in the answering machine.
Yes, the one that
Yeah.
it's electricity. Yeah. There's the one that becomes the
which
spider.
actually doesn't make any sense, but
There's the one that becomes a giant spider.
yeah,
Yeah. And then there's the female one. And I think that's it. Yeah.
that's all I can remember too.
Yeah. So do we think that this is something that could become
No.
a remake?
No.
Do you think they could do it again now?
No,
I'll stick with my opinion that I wouldn't mind it.
I would
would
be-
enjoy it.
I
I would
love how
be-
you're saying, Nick.
I would
that-
just be so hurt if that was made. If they remade that movie, I don't know why. There's just something, because they would go with CG.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that would be terrible.
And sometimes CG works out. I saw a movie recently where CG looked great.
Which
Godzilla
is-
King of the Monsters, CG looks phenomenal. Giant kaiju, CG looks great.
I honestly thought you were going to say Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu did a good job of it too, but that's based off cartoon characters. I'm thinking of something that used either rubber or mechanics before.
Before, yeah.
And then was remade.
Mhm.
Godzilla
Interesting.
benefited because you could do the atmospheric events and everything like that with like rain and fog and fire and all of that around it. But I just think Gremlins, because you have to be so close to the Mogwai and the Gremlins, and the people have to interact with them so much,
Yeah.
that I feel the CG would kind of fall short because we have an expectation.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I
Interesting.
completely 100% agree with you, and I love your first expression of it. It's flat out that dad saying no.
Yeah.
No.
Shaking my
That
head,
was-
arms
yes.
crossed. No.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. Okay, let's wrap that up for Gremlins, if I can say the name
Yeah.
correctly. All right, we're going to move on to another movie. Now, this is one that I have not seen. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I even heard a really interesting theory about the ending of it. And I think recently it did have a remake. I even think this one is
This
a
is a
remake.
remake. If it's the movie I think
Yeah.
you're talking about.
So we're talking about The Thing.
Ooh, I love that movie.
Okay,
that movie.
then starting off with you, Eddie. Let's go ahead and start with what age did you watch it?
As an adult.
As an adult?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I missed that one as a kid. But just watching it as an adult, that movie is so creepy
Yeah.
and gross and disgusting.
No.
It's amazing. I love it.
I kind of have an idea of what the plot is. So for my benefit, and perhaps for any of our listeners that doesn't know what the plot of the thing is, what is going on?
Oh my God, you put me on the spot.
Oh, okay.
I just want to make sure I
I'll-
don't want to give the false facts here,
Yeah, I'll
that I
start you
misinterpreted
off.
the
So-
movie, but
Yeah, some explorers
go ahead.
go to Antarctica,
Uh-huh.
and they're exploring in Antarctica, and they come across a parasitic alien, and that's
Yeah,
pretty
okay.
much
In the ice, or
in where they're exploring, like they're digging down.
yeah, they're
into the
digging because
ice.
they hear a signal,
Yeah,
right? And they go to the signal and they start digging around, and I believe it was
Excavator.
a spaceship there,
Mhm.
right? And they go inside and they find that
yeah.
I think it was frozen, if I remember
I
correctly.
think it was
And they-
frozen.
They bring it
yeah,
out.
and they
Yeah,
bring it out and they bring it back.
Mhm.
so it's
Like
a
that.
parasite, so it takes over the host.
It's a parasitic alien, I guess
Yeah.
I want to say. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
But now this is a horror film.
Oh, yeah.
I see that it's rated R. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Is it gory?
It definitely is.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And the idea of this monster creature is so terrifying. It just takes over you. I don't even know what it does. Is it like eat you and then consumes you and just it turns into you? Like,
Yeah, I don't.
But once it turns into you, it's like very hard to know if it's the monster or the real you,
Mm.
and that's how it spreads itself.
Oh, it can multiply.
Yeah. Well, it's trying to
Once
take
again, like
over
the
everybody. Yeah.
parasitic.
So it actually
Mhm.
takes over. I thought it was only one individual throughout the whole movie. There's only one guy that
It might be. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I think the idea
Well,
is
no.
that it's slowly killing and tricking people into believing that he might or might not be.
Well,
the
I'm
monster.
sorry. I think I'm saying that wrong. It's not one individual throughout the whole movie, but it only takes over one person.
So you think?
Oh wow.
That's the crazy
cool.
part,
Yeah,
right?
wow.
That's the
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
the idea
wow.
of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gets me so confused. I'm just like, I don't know. Is
Wow.
it? Oh my god, I don't know.
Okay.
Good movie though. If you haven't
yeah.
seen it, it's definitely one of
No,
those.
I don't know.
Well, maybe not
It's-
you. Just in general.
it's
Our listeners
great,
feel like
Ricardo.
it's a really good movie.
I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those films where I watch it over and over.
It's something that like I know of it. I've seen things about it. Before I've heard the theory at the end, because I don't want to take over for you, Nick.
Go ahead.
It's okay, you've seen it, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Long time ago.
Okay, so you saw it at a younger age.
Yeah, I probably saw that one. Probably like, I don't know. I want to say between like 10 and 14.
Okay, that's not
Yeah,
so bad, right?
not so young. Not young as a kid. This was one of those past my young childhood horror, like typical 80s slasher gore flicks. This is when I was like, I love horror. Let me start getting into some movies that are actually really good like quality horror movies. Not saying I don't love the other movies, but movies that are considered like this is what the genre is.
Now, since you're talking about the genre of it, how does this differ from a suspense? Because you don't know who.
I guess it could be a suspense.
You don't know
but
who-
it's
yeah,
a
right?
suspense horror.
film?
Yeah.
Suspense
Yeah.
horror?
Yeah,
Okay,
it could-
okay.
I guess
Because the
you
way
could call
the way
yeah.
that has been described to me now, I thought maybe this would be more of a suspense than horror, which means then maybe perhaps I could handle
Like a
it.
suspense thriller?
But
But it's not really a thriller. I don't know.
No.
if I could ask them, what makes it a horror movie? Is it gory? Is it?
I think
guess-
just the goriness does add to
Yeah,
the horror.
it
and just
does.
the way they portray the
Yeah,
creatures.
the way they
is so
portray the creatures, the settings, it's just a
Yeah.
very eerie
creepy. Yeah.
feeling. It's hard to explain. I'm trying to think of another movie that you might have seen that could be considered horror, but you
Mhm.
might not see it as horror right off the bat. But it definitely is. Like the first Alien is definitely a horror film.
yeah.
But everything after that's not. We talked about how when we did the 70s, how Alien was a horror film,
Uh-huh.
and Aliens and Beyond are not. Those are sci-fi thrillers. So it gets away. So
Interesting.
that one's considered a horror because of the dark corridors, the text. It's
Which
not so
is
much
suspense.
the gore, the suspense part
Yeah.
of it, the fear of like, oh my god, what's happening? Oh my no,
Mm.
and just the that whole unsettlingness of
Yes.
it. As
Which
where
is-
Aliens turns more into a sci-fi because it's more about it's less about they understand what the aliens are already.
Yeah,
And
right. Which
so
is a
it's
big
kind
thing
of-
about the first one.
Yeah.
You hardly ever see it.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And
what
so-
makes it
Yeah.
that suspense, that
Yeah,
that
it is
feeling,
this-
that creepy feeling, like, oh my god, where is this creature
Yeah.
at?
Which I
Same
cannot-
thing with the
With
thing.
the thing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, this is not for me because I
Go
can
ahead.
stand that. I cannot.
Oh,
stand
you
that.
can't stand
No,
that?
no,
Oh, wow.
I cannot.
Interesting.
We'll find one movie on here you'll watch.
Well, yeah, we'll see if we can. So this is a remake, isn't it?
Yes, it's a remake
That's
from a
what I've heard,
1960s
yeah.
film, I believe.
Right, yeah.
I think it's like 64, I want to say.
Isn't there a newer remake, a recent remake?
Yeah,
of
there
this?
was. I haven't seen that,
That one is actually if I'm correct,
I
it's
have no
supposed to
idea.
be a prequel
Oh, it is?
to
Okay.
to this one.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Because
Maybe
I
I'll have-
remember
Was it any good?
I enjoyed them.
Okay.
I enjoyed them both. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a
So-
watch because I always just thought it was a straight remake. So I was like,
Oh no, wait.
thanks.
See, that's. I think I'm incorrect. Hold on.
Yeah.
Was it a prequel or a sequel?
But
Because
it's,
I know the idea is that on this remake, they go out and they find. Oh, I said, did they go out and find the crew from the first one is going crazy, or is it the other way around?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I remember now. Okay, I remember now. Yeah.
Right.
So it is a prequel.
Okay.
Because at the end of well, I guess I don't want to spoil anything, but kind of like the end of this prequel is kind of like the beginning of this one.
Of the 80s.
Of this 81.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 84 thing?
Interesting.
Yeah.
84?
This movie was released in 82.
82,
Yeah,
sorry. The
82.
82 thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just love it.
Okay, so then in that case, do any possible favorite lines from this? Because I don't think anybody's ever quoted. I don't
No,
think
it's
I've ever
not-
heard anybody
no,
quote
it's-
this movie before.
Yeah, you
The
bet.
names.
The names?
The names are hilarious.
The names of the.
Macintosh, I think, and Windows.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember some of the names.
Yeah.
Like, hey Mac, hey Windows. I think those are the names, but I have to go back. But I remember it was something with the names because one of my coworkers here, we would always be shouting like, "Hey Mac," like because I was watching it, with the coworker,
Oh,
and
wow.
just hearing those names is just hilarious. The
Oh.
names are funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, then in that case, if I can just go into the possible ending that I've
Okay.
heard. The theory of the ending that I've heard is that at the end of it, there's only the two people left, Kurt Russell and the other person.
Yeah. Mhm.
And if I don't know, and please chime in if you actually have heard this theory, is that he at the end you don't know if one of them is the parasite still, but it's suggested that Kurt Russell does make it to the very end of the movie, and he again doesn't know if the person that he's left with doesn't know if that's the person with the parasite. So the only way he tries to figure out is that he hands the person a bottle of supposedly alcohol, but was perhaps changed with some sort of antifreeze or something not drinkable by humans,
Mhm.
and hands it to him and to this person and sees if they react, because they I think they figured out that the alien doesn't have the same kind of reactions that we would.
It doesn't react to, I think, fire. So when they put the parasite's blood and they try to light it up with fire, I think, or some kind of shock, the whole creature, I think, kind of like reacts to it.
Oh, okay.
So you would know who the
Yeah.
The theory.
And I think the other thing was, I think they didn't have they couldn't handle what is it called, like those dental
Fillings.
like fillings or crowns or something.
Yeah.
Like when it tried to replicate, it would be missing those things.
Oh, okay.
Because it couldn't replicate.
Those aren't actually
yeah, I think
part
it's just
of
plastic or something.
Yeah, it's plastic or metal back then,
Mhm.
most likely.
Exactly.
Some
So
kind
it
of
can't
metal.
replicate
because
that.
that's not
Ah.
part of the actual organism.
Ah.
So it's trying to replicate the whole organism, and
Mhm.
it can't replicate like unorganic materials.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that
That's it
sounds
right there.
about right.
So what Kurt Russell in theory is that Kurt Russell hands the person something that a human shouldn't be able to drink, and you see the person drink it, and so you see
I've
then
never heard that.
you see then that Kurt Russell kind of reacts in a certain way, and it leads into like he actually figured out if the
interesting.
last person that he was with is in fact the parasite. So
I don't think I got that at the
Yeah,
end. I think from what I remember, they are together. They're just
Yeah.
sitting and. I don't remember him passing him the drink. Oh,
see,
God,
because
I'm gonna have to
it's
see
so
it.
subtle. It's so subtle.
Yeah, okay.
It's like one of those theories that is.
Oh wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next movie here. We're going to move on to one that I know you've seen the remake of because you don't like it, is Pet Cemetery.
Oh, the remake of
Oh,
Pet
interesting.
Cemetery
Okay,
is.
that's one that I haven't seen. So it's
No,
gonna
I
be,
have not seen this either.
I haven't
Okay.
seen it yet, so it's going to be you, Nick.
Yeah, I've seen Pet Cemetery. It's
Uh-huh.
another Stephen King movie. It's
Oh,
a
is
good
it?
movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another Stephen King book turned into a movie. It's a cool idea. The idea is
What is the idea? What is Pet
So-
Cemetery?
so Pet
is it anything to
Cemetery-
do with the Ramones song?
No, but they wrote the song
No.
for that.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
the I don't want to be buried in
Yeah.
Pet Cemetery. I don't want to live my life again.
Yeah.
That was written for the end credits of that movie.
Oh, I didn't know
The
that.
Ramones did that for that movie. Yeah.
That's cool.
So that is really cool. It's just a movie about there's this sacred ground where if you're buried there, you come back to life, but you're changed and you're different, and you go crazy because you realize that you were dead and you're supposed to be dead.
Wow.
And why am I here? I don't get this. And then it just they just lose their minds. And it's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's not the scariest of horror movies. It's good. The remake was a hot mess of garbage. It was just bad. The acting was bad.
Why? Oh,
the acting
that's-
was bad. Just the whole. I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I just was not happy with
Okay,
it.
let me ask a
Before
question,
it's-
if I
yeah.
may. All right, so did you see the original?
Yes.
Okay, well, what age did you see that one?
Oh, God, I don't even.
You know,
That was young. That was
young.
young. That was really young. So
Okay.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid too. So even going into this, it was kind of like watching it again, but new,
Mhm.
because I remember like the basic concept of the movie, but I don't have that. Like this isn't one of those horror movies that I've seen over and over and over again.
Uh-huh.
But it's just, the remake. I just didn't like it. The acting
like
was bad. It just didn't feel real or scary, or just it didn't accomplish anything in my opinion.
Okay.
It only had one good little thing. I'm not really going to ruin this, but at one point there's a truck driver who's going to hit something on the road,
Uh-huh.
and the reason he doesn't realize that the thing's on the road is because he looks down on his phone, and on his phone the call comes from Sheila.
Uh-huh.
And that's a reference to Sheila's a Punk Rocker by the Ramones. So the new movie nodding at the Ramones in a reference. So
Wow, really?
yeah, and that's all. That's the only good thing about
It
that
seems
movie.
like a bit of a stretch there.
That's what
Yeah.
it was.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. Wow, okay. All right, then sounds like
Yeah.
perhaps...
I mean, it's a good movie. It's
Yeah.
a good movie, but I just don't have a ton to talk about.
Okay. In
Yeah.
that case,
Yeah.
let's move on to another one that I know that we have, or you guys have a lot to talk about. Classic, iconic. It started a whole series. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Now,
Which your intro comes from.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Freddy
that is
Krueger.
true. That is
Yeah.
true. Uh-huh.
Favorite.
Exactly.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've not seen any of the movies. I just know. No, I'm pretty sure I have not seen these. I'm not a fan of the whole concept. I kind of know the story behind Freddy Krueger through other
Uh-huh.
media.
Okay.
I know that this is. I'm gonna deliver this line because I'm a big fan of Johnny Depp. I do know that this is Johnny Depp's first movie. He was super young
After
in this.
21 Jump Street, I believe, right? Or was this before 21 Jump Street?
I'm pretty. Oh, geez, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
He might have been doing 21 Jump Street before this.
Maybe, yeah. I just do know that it does say introducing.
Yeah.
When he's credited.
Mhm.
Now, okay, and I know this had a recent remake. Oh, I shouldn't say recent. I think it's pretty old now. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the
Yeah.
remake. All right. So
Yeah.
Eddie, I'm gonna direct this to you first. A Nightmare on Elm Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's had a million.
It has. And I'm not even sure how
sequels.
many of them I've seen.
Yeah.
Right. It actually had to take me a while to try to remember, which one was the first one, which one was the second one, which one was the third one, right?
Mhm.
And I was able to figure it out with a little research just to get my memory back.
Okay. With your memory back.
Okay.
The first one. Do you know when you started watching these the first time? At what age?
I'm going to say this. I've seen all of them when I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
I've seen all of them as a kid. I think this
Pre-10?
was kind of like the same thing. Pre-10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-10.
Jeez.
This one is
These
kind of
were-
like the
No,
same thing.
thank you.
These were released in theaters. Didn't see them in theaters because couldn't get into theaters. These were when they came out on VHS. Renting them from the movie store right away, like the week they came out.
Shouldn't the people working at the store not have allowed you to rent these movies?
My grandmother was old enough to rent anything she wanted, sir.
Okay.
I think for this was probably the same scenario where I was just watching it with my cousins.
Yeah.
I think I would show up at someone's
totally.
house and it's just in the background.
It's just
They're
on.
yeah.
Wow.
So-
I didn't have that. Okay, so let's talk about the first one.
But the first
second
one, yeah, the first one, the
First one?
original, the one
Yeah.
with Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
Very
with Johnny Depp.
interesting
Mhm.
one. It was, now that I kind of remember it right, there was only 4 deaths in the entire movie,
And
which
Johnny
is actually
Depp's one of them.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of funny.
Isn't he like the first one? Is he?
No, he's not one of the first
No,
ones.
he's
No,
the
I
second?
think I'm gonna say the third.
The third
I have
Maybe the
seen
third
that.
or fourth one.
I've seen it where he gets sucked into the
bed, and
bed.
then
Yeah.
the
Bed?
blood shoots out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah, there was another girl that I think dies in the same kind of style, like in the bedroom,
In the bedroom,
And-
but
where she gets like taken up and
yeah.
flipped around in the air. It's just god, it's so creepy.
Then okay, if since you've seen the first one and you've recalled it now, can you perhaps maybe give me a clarification on the origins of Freddy Krueger in these? Do they explain any of that in the first movie, or does it just straight up he's
no,
there?
there
and
is
he's
a
threat?
scene. There is a scene
There's a
where they
little
find
bit.
out that the mom and I think the because the dad is I don't know if he's a sheriff or a deputy or something,
Yeah.
and they admit to Nancy, I think one of the kids that we actually burned this guy.
Yeah,
He did something bad.
Based
right?
on, but then it turns out that it was based on false pretenses. But then it was like, then at the end of the movie, it feels like, then at the end of the movie, it feels like, wait, maybe he was doing this. So it was kind of like, it was kind of up in the air. Like, they believed that he was...
What is it, a child?
He was a pedophile. They
But
believed
I
he
think
was...
that was later.
Was that later when they changed it?
I was kind of listening in.
Yeah.
I was doing some
Yeah.
research that I think at first they said
thought-
he was a murderer, and then later on
And then
on the
they-
other remakes, or I mean, as they continue to make more.
Yeah, they kind of changed the
they kinda
story a little,
changed it, exactly.
where he was working at the school and he was
Exactly.
really nice with the kids.
Mhm.
But then when they did the remake, they ruined it. And they just straight up, the remake should have just been called Nightmare on Elm Street. He's a pedophile, because that's how they sold that movie.
Well, okay, so that's what I was trying to ask in the first movie, because it makes sense that as they created sequels, that they kind of flesh out the origin and the story behind it all.
Yeah.
But in the first one, what did they just give you?
They gave you that the parents murdered him
yeah.
because he had done bad things.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start to piece together what the bad things might have been, but it's not really clear in the first one.
It's not. Okay,
No,
that,
it
that's
doesn't.
what I
It
was
doesn't come
interested
till
in.
later. I want to say third or
No?
fourth movie before you start to get. Maybe I'm just wrong.
Okay.
I'm
At least I
remembering
wouldn't
it wrong.
remember because I
Uh-huh.
haven't seen it in a long time. But
The only one I've seen recently in the last 10 years myself is Dream Warriors, because it's the best.
Oh, Dream Warriors?
Dream Warriors is the best. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Okay, well,
and I think that's one of the ones that I actually remember a lot more because
Yeah.
it's just so specific on the roles of the characters
Mm-hmm.
there.
well, going off of that, then Eddie,
Uh-huh.
is there anything that you want to say that stands out the most out of these movies? Any of the sequels? Anything you want to mention? Favorite scenes, favorite lines?
It's just so much. It's just I don't remember when they started showing the
faces
souls. The faces trapped in
I
his
want to
body.
say 4 or 5.
I remember
before
that would
yeah.
give me nightmares.
When he lifts up
as a
his shirt
kid.
and he
like I
has
just
all the-
remember
yeah.
just seeing faces on his body and just reminding of
Trying to push out of his skin
Yeah, oh,
because he
God.
had the souls inside of him.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, so I remember having nightmares as a kid about that.
Wow, gross.
Yeah.
Do they explain why he uses dreams or nightmares? Sorry.
Because he's dead and that's the only place he can get
He
to
can
you.
get to you,
Yeah.
to the kids.
He doesn't live in the real world. Well, okay.
What's funny because
you can draw him out.
You can
that
draw
whole
him
thing.
out, yeah.
You can draw him out. So if a person in a dream can grab onto Freddy and be woken up by adrenaline or whatever at the right moment, in the movies you can pull him out of the dream realm or it's the nightmare realm or is it the dream realm? Can't remember what they call
okay.
it. Jeez, I'm gonna kill myself for that one. And you can pull him into this world, and then he is vulnerable and no longer has powers.
And then do they have to splash him with the holy water? I think I'm suddenly remembering. No.
No,
Oh, okay.
I think
I think that might have been
2.
part 2 or was that part 1? I know what you're talking about. I saw that a little bit of a clip online where
But
they are trying to put him away,
Maybe with the bones.
get rid of his spirit. I
remains
think
or
that is
something
Dream
like
Warriors
That might,
because there's like a
that might be the end
nun.
of Dream Warriors.
Yeah, where they have to use the holy thing and bury him.
that. Sounds like the third
Yeah,
one is a
it
really
is
good
the third
one.
It is has Patricia Arquette. It's really good.
Patricia
It's-
Arquette.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's cool. I like.
Then, if I can ask, then where did this glove come from?
He was a gardener. No, I have no idea. They don't explain it. They don't explain where the glove kind of came from. Or do they explain it? No, they don't explain
I
it.
saw
do
a scene where he's building it. I think of the first one. I think that's
Yeah.
the opening scene where he's
they?
making
Yeah, but they
it.
don't explain.
But they don't
like,
explain
what
it.
it's
Yeah,
for. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not actually for gardening, is it? Because I know the
No.
joke in The Simpsons.
Yeah,
where,
well, there's not
Flanders-
just the joke. It's a joke everywhere. It's always been the joke with him was like, oh, that's for gardening, for doing hedges, like Edward Scissorhands kind of.
No, that's different.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying this is that idea. I do want to say though, this is probably Freddy Krueger is probably my favorite slasher. I guess horror
is this
villain.
a slasher type?
This is
movie?
these movies are
Yeah,
slasher.
I guess this would be considered.
This is slasher.
Really?
Yeah.
Slashing.
This is slasher genre.
Wow.
So movies, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Sleepaway Camp, slasher films.
Really?
Yeah, because it's about a killer going in and very gory, violent, like with stabbing, cutting open deaths.
Wow.
scenes.
So
Yeah.
I wonder, is this the first that
Halloween.
we've talked about? No, that
Halloween.
we've talked about.
Halloween.
Have we
We
talked
talked about
Halloween?
Halloween in the 70s.
Oh, that's right.
Halloween.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's
the
true,
cool
huh?
thing about Halloween is, sorry to go off track, the cool thing about Halloween is before Halloween, there were no real slasher movies out there. That was the first one. That movie defined a genre that went through the 80s up until the Scream movies.
Was that
Scream,
before?
oh, by the way, Scream are slasher films too.
Oh, was that I'm sorry, you said Jason, right? Or no,
Michael Myers.
Halloween. You said Halloween.
Yeah.
We're talking about Halloween.
77, 78.
Is that before Texas Chainsaw Massacre? That's a slasher.
I don't know if Texas Chainsaw Massacre is considered a slasher film.
Oh, really?
The sequels were, but I don't know if the original one's considered a slasher film. I think that people usually, when they agree upon slasher films, they say that Halloween is like the first of its type.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, but Freddy Krueger's the best. My favorite scene, it's either in 3 or 4. I just can't remember right now. There's a scene of this girl working out, and all of a sudden she starts getting stuck to the ground. And she starts turning into this cockroach who's stuck in a hotel. Ew. And then Freddy at the end is holding up one of those cardboard roach motels like when we were kids, and he just crushes it with her in it. But like she's trying to pull away and her arms are like ripping off, and it's really gory. I just love, that's my favorite death scene from the whole series. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah.
But since you bring it up, I do want to mention Robert Englund. He is a great actor.
Have you ever heard the story about him in full makeup?
In full makeup?
Yeah, so one time they were having a long shoot. They did a lot of night shoots, obviously, for the movie. And he went back to his trailer. And I believe he was sitting on the can, or he was sitting on the couch in his trailer. And he kind of dozed off for a couple seconds. And he woke up and the mirror was in front of him. And he was in full makeup. And it freaked him out.
Oh, wow.
He scared himself?
Yeah, he scared himself as Freddy. Because, you wake up and that's the first thing you see. And as someone who's in the makeup all the time in the movies, it's not like he's looking at himself all day, every day. That's everyone else. So he doesn't get the visuals of himself all the time.
That's very true.
It's kind of a cool little story he shared at something or another.
I do recall. I know he played. I remember the first time I ever saw him without makeup. He was on an episode of Married with Children. It was in an episode where Al, I think, dreamt that he went to hell.
Hell, yeah.
Robert Englund plays the devil.
He was the devil. Yes. That was the first time. I remember my brother was really excited for seeing him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, do you know who that is?" I'm like, "No, I don't know who that is." And he's like, that's Robert Englund. That's Freddy Krueger." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, wow!" His face, it's done so well with the makeup because you could kind of see it.
Yeah. I mean, the makeup shaped to his face.
Yeah. But even then, like it's got such a it works well for him. Yeah. So yeah, Robert Englund, great actor.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Awesome. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Awesome. All of them.
This one had the remake. We discussed that.
Yeah.
Any favorite lines? You had a favorite scene?
Any not really favorite lines.
Because he has like one-liners, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has there are a lot of like quirky one-liners.
Yeah.
Like they're really like cheesy one-liners for the death scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Like,
this one's gonna be hard because I saw this a long time ago.
Yeah. I'm just trying. I can't think of any. But they're one of those little quirky like lines.
Yeah. Okay. But in that case, let's go on to our next one. I know this is a huge one. There's it just came out on the Switch. Yeah. This video game version of it. This is Friday the 13th.
Yay, Friday the 13th.
Again, I am pretty sure I haven't seen any of these. I've seen lots of videos discussing them. Cinemassacre guys, they've done videos on them. I've seen those because I think the story behind them is interesting.
Yeah.
But let's go into the first one. This is Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Go ahead and let's go. Nick, let's start with you first.
Okay.
At what age did you see this movie?
I don't. It's in the same. Most of these movies, especially the slasher ones, there'll probably be a couple here at the end. I'll just name off that I really enjoy, or horror movies in general that I saw as a kid. They were all between the ages of 5 and 9.
Oh my gosh!
I want to say that was like the heyday of when I was watching these. I watched them past that, and some I did see past 9 and 10.
5 and 9.
I spent a lot of time with my cousins when I was a little younger, because especially during summers, and some of the cousins came with my grandmother, so I would spend a lot more time with them during this age until my grandmother passed away. And that was probably another reason I probably have this love for these movies, is because it reminds me of a time when things were complete as a child, I guess I'll say. So,
I was going to ask that. How did you get access to these? And it sounds like you have the same kind of scenario of hanging out with cousins. I got to say, I never had that. I guess I didn't have that. I don't know. It's interesting. But so
Yeah.
this was another movie that's had like multiple sequels, right?
Yes.
So anything you can talk about the first one?
Yes, I'll talk about the first one.
Yeah.
For sure. It's funny because it's weird because I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I've seen Friday the 13th a lot more.
A lot more.
A
Okay.
lot more.
A lot more.
I've even recently watched the first one like a month ago, part one again, because it's just a fun movie to watch. It's cool.
Who is the bad guy
In the first
in
one?
the first one?
Okay, so the first one is about X amount of camp counselors who are at this.
A made-up lake.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Cinemaster guys. They
Yes.
did the research on that.
Yeah, and they're all of a sudden they start getting killed, and you don't know what's happening. You know there's a killer on the loose, and you don't really know why there's a killer on the loose. And then there's stories about who the killer is. And I think it's in the third act, I want to say, of the movie, or whatever it is, or whatever the part is. You find out that the killer is Mrs. Voorhees, because her son was made fun of. Her son was deformed, a deformed kid, a little child named Jason Voorhees, no more than 10, 12 years old. And all of the camp counselors and everyone at the camp would pick on him and be mean to him.
Wow.
And I believe some of the camp, he went out swimming, and some of the camp counselors weren't paying attention because, as in all these movies, camp counselors can do nothing but drink and sleep together. So they were all sleeping together, and Jason drowns, and his mother blames him for that, all camp counselors, and she's lost her mind. And so she goes off on this killing spree.
Wow.
And at the very end, the only character that survives is this one character named Nancy. She's the one who beheads Mrs. Voorhees at the end. She cuts off her head.
Whoa.
Oh,
She
Really?
just straight up cuts
Wow.
off her head.
Jeez.
Which I only want to bring this up because I want to talk about like part 2 a little, and then a little bit about 3 real quick here. And so then she survives the night, and she's in the boat, and the police pull up, and they're like looking at the carnage, and she's like, "Hey!" on the boat in the middle of the lake. And the last scene in the movie,
I've seen this.
deformed Jason Voorhees' child jumps up, grabs her, and pulls her in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
that's it. That's where the movie
Okay.
ends.
Yeah, I've seen that bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for the Cinemaster guys. Yeah, I've seen that part.
Yeah.
And I think that one, it kind of leads into the second movie, right? That little scene?
Yes and no. That's what I wanted to get to. That's the big things I wanted to get to. So part 2 starts with Nancy in her apartment years later.
Okay, so she's survived?
So she survived. And the way they explained this was she was actually asleep on that canoe, and Jason never came out and got her.
Oh.
That was her dream. And so she survives. And 2 is probably, minus Jason, which we'll get into in a second here, 2 is probably the best of the series. It is just a good movie because it starts off and you're like, Nancy, that's who this movie is going to be about. Nope, gets stabbed in the temple with an ice pick within the first 5 minutes of the movie. She's done.
Whoa, by
Oh,
Jason?
wow.
You don't really see, you see his hand. You don't see anything
Oh,
else about it.
gosh.
So you assume it's Jason at that point.
Uh-huh.
And then the movie goes on, and now Jason's back at Camp Crystal Lake, and there's counselors who are like, I think it's like 5 to 10 miles away from Crystal Lake, somewhere there on this like retreat doing like camp counselor training for the upcoming summer season. And Jason's in the woods killing them because that's all he knows, because he's stuck in this childlike state, which they kind of let you feel later in the movie with some of the scenes, where he thinks still like a child, and he's just trying to get revenge to people who are mean to him, but he is this massive deformed man who has like strong as everything. And the way that they describe the fact that Jason's still alive and not that little kid you saw was one of the camp counselors that's telling a story about how Jason Voorhees never actually drowned in that lake. He survived and went and lived in the woods. And now he's just like a feral wild beast out there killing. So that's kind of like the scene they set up for all the killings.
How would they have known that?
It's like legends. Like, I mean, how did people know things? People told other people who
Yeah.
told other people, because they were close to where the killings were 5 years before.
Uh-huh.
5 years before? Yeah, it's 5 years after. So 5 years after. So it's
So he grew up in those 5 years to become the massive...
no, because he never came out of the water. That's how they justified him being an adult. Because Mrs. Voorhees was old. If Jason would have lived his life without drowning in that lake, he would have been the size of Jason Voorhees now. So the way they tried to change the movie for 2 was saying, hey, Jason never actually drowned in the lake. He survived that drowning, but got lost in the woods and grew up by himself in the woods. And he's always trying to find his mother, but his mother moved away or whatever until she came back to the killings 5 years before. It's not It's not a solid plot, nor
Yeah,
are
that's
most horror films. But they tried to justify the fact that how did he go from a 4'4" little skinny kid to a 6'2", 220-pound man with a freaking pitchfork and a pickaxe and stuff like that.
Yeah, that doesn't make
Yeah.
much sense. But
It doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah,
But I really like that movie because it's really cool because about in the movie eventually you find out it's Jason because one of the counselors stumbles upon like an area in a cave where the mother's head is. The severed head of the mother, it's all wrinkly with the sweater there and a bunch of candles. And it's just the whole idea that he didn't know how to cope with his own mother's death.
Mhm.
So he's doing this and now he's probably trying to get revenge for it, but he doesn't quite understand it. And this is the weird Jason. I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is the weird Jason where he's not wearing a hockey mask, the iconic hockey mask. He's
It's
wearing a potato sack with a hole in the eye.
bag. Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
so
Interesting.
this is before hockey mask Jason. So it was kind of weird because they didn't quite know where to go for stories about the hockey mask is only because when they were filming the third one of the people, the director, someone had hockey equipment with them there, and it was kind of like, I'm going to put it on and see how this looks. And they're like, hey, that's actually really good.
Which became super iconic.
Yeah, super iconic. Because
God.
when you think about hockey masks,
Because that's
you
all I
think about
remembered. I thought that was just.
yeah.
I guess all of my memories are the hockey mask one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
Which
I
is-
just really like the scene in 2 where the one counselor that he has to defeat Jason, like to kind of end the movie. She thinks real quick and puts on the mom's sweater and starts talking to Jason like a mother would to a kid, and Jason gets real confused and thinks it's his mother back to life. So that's
Wow.
kind of how she survives. She's like the really smart
Wow.
character. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting because it sounds like as if the NES game is a mixture of the third one and
Yes.
the second one
Mhm.
because you have hockey mask
Jason with the mother's
and-
head in the cabin in the woods.
in the woods.
The cave.
Yeah,
There's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun franchise. They do a really good job of making things creepy and making you feel like you don't want to be outdoors or in a cabin. That's what they do really well in that. It feels more real than like Nightmare on Elm Street would. Nightmare on Elm Street is very like, whimsical and dreams. He'll get you in your dreams, and it's the boogeyman. Where Jason is the actual murderer who could kill you if you go to these places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we can go into the possible sequels, because I don't think that it's ever had a remake. The later titles are not remakes, right? It's all a continuing kind of
Did they have a remake of it?
story.
I'm not sure, but
I'm not sure
I
about
kind
the
of stopped watching them because they got ridiculous.
Oh,
like
they did.
Jason in space.
Oh, Jason X is terrible.
like,
Yeah,
what
Jason
is
X is
this?
And
terrible.
the one in New York, right? The one that takes.
Jason in Manhattan.
In
Yeah, that
Manhattan,
one's pretty
yeah.
bad too.
Uh-huh.
3 is cool because it was a 3D movie, and a lot of the death scenes in that are really like corny, but for 3D glasses at the time because it was in the forefront of the 3D movies. It was early 3D movie technology, so of course, like scenes like eyeballs popping out of heads into the audience and stuff like that. If you go back and watch it now in HD, you could see a bunch of like you could see how the eyeballs move because SD. Oh, you can't quite see that string there. HD, it's like there's a string. But it's still a good one. I can't remember the name of the actor, but it's the first time this actor took over Jason as Jason, and he did a really good job because he was big, but it was also in that movie like Jason will like lift up his mask to show you his face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's kind of like the first time where it's like you can see the playful kid in Jason kind of like killing for fun. Like the kiddiness in him, like, oh look, it's me, and then puts the mask back down and kills.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. I think is it 2 or 3? One of them has just some great death scenes in it. Like, there's one where I think it's the beginning of 3. He harpoons a lady through the eye.
Oh.
There's this one scene where this girl's in the shower and her boyfriend's like walking around doing handstands, and Jason just comes up and he sees him upside down, and Jason just takes his machete, splits the dude down from like upside down in handstands through, and he just falls over. It's just really fun. They have some really good.
That's no, thank you.
Yeah, I like gore movies and stuff like
No.
that, so they're really good and fun. Yeah.
Wow. And okay.
Yeah. Sorry for talking so much about
No,
Friday
that was
13th.
great.
It's just-
'Cause I have really faint memories of the early movies.
Yeah. Then if I could just ask really quick, because he's never said anything. He doesn't say anything,
No.
does he?
He
I
says,
don't think he does, Rich.
Does he say that? No, he
No,
doesn't.
no, he doesn't say that. No.
Where does
So-
that come from?
It's just supposed to be spooky, scary music just like everything, like if you go back and watch Halloween, they had music tracks.
Really?
Like that.
Because
Yeah.
that's iconic.
Yeah,
that sound. Yeah,
That's from Friday the 13th. That exact
Yeah,
one I did.
I
Well,
know
it's
that.
not exact that. That is from Friday the 13th.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't possibly have a favorite line from these movies, would you?
No.
'Cause, there's nothing
I have
there,
favorite
yeah.
death scenes and just favorite and
Yeah.
just stories and about them. Yeah, the first 3 are solid movies.
Wow, do you think that
1 and
makes
2 are really good. 3 is all right, and then 4 and on, and Jason X is
Jason? What was
Jason X? He's in space.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's just a bad movie. It's just a bad movie. And then Jason Goes to Hell is. Yeah.
Okay. I
Sorry.
know nothing
Yeah.
of those. No, that's right. Eddie, anything you want to add to?
No, this was great. This was great to listen to.
All right, then let's go ahead and see if we can move on to another movie that I know that you have expressed that you're interested. You wish I've seen it. I'm pretty sure I've seen other titles of it. Is The Evil Dead?
Yeah, The Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead, which is Sam Raimi, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Sam Raimi.
I'm a big fan of Sam Raimi, but these type of movies are not my cup of tea. I'm pretty sure I've seen the Army of Darkness one, and the one where he, the medieval one.
That's the Army. That's
the
Army of Darkness.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've
There's
seen
Evil
that
Dead,
one.
Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness,
I think
and then
I've
Ash versus
seen
the Evil Dead, the TV show.
The TV
Go
show.
watch it.
Yeah, I know.
It's on
I've
Netflix.
heard great things about it. Yeah,
It's so good.
and the Lucy Lawless is in that too.
Lucy
yeah.
Lawless is
yeah.
in that.
Yeah. So The Evil Dead itself, the first movie. Do you have you seen this one, Eddie?
I believe I have. He's in the cabin, right?
Yeah, this is the one they're in the
Yeah,
cabin and
okay.
they find the Necronomicon.
The
And they
Necronomicon.
start reading from the
Yeah.
Necronomicon, and then evil is released, and it's. Sorry, once again, I'm gonna go into a long talk, just like I did with Friday the 13th.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I love these movies.
Yeah.
I adore these movies. The Evil Dead are great. Bruce Campbell's great.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Such a fantastic actor.
Yes, he is.
Great voice.
Yeah.
I think he totally.
What's your name, kid? Spider Guy. Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh,
In this
yeah.
movie, he
That's
gives
right.
him the name.
Yeah. Lucy Lawless is in that movie too.
Oh, really?
She's in the first one. She has like one line.
Okay.
She says, a guy with 6 arms sounds hot.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Lucy Lawless. Yeah. And his brother. His brother's always in the movies too.
Really?
Yeah, Sam Raimi's brother.
Oh, Sam Raimi's brother. Yeah. I
Yeah,
know.
he. I know him from
Bill
Hercules.
Raimi. No, I'm joking.
He. I can't remember his name right now. But he played Joxer in the Hercules series.
I've never watched Hercules a lot.
And
The TV series, right?
The TV
The
series.
TV series?
Yeah.
I remember watching that. Okay.
No, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he's in Evil Dead. I'm not.
Maybe
exactly sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about Evil Dead was it was a horror movie where I feel I could be wrong about this. The reason it became a cult classic is because of how it's a horror film, but it doesn't take itself too seriously.
No. Yeah.
But I kind of feel like Sam Raimi's original idea was to be very serious with this, but he got out there and started making this, and budgetary reasons made it so he just went with the movie and made it something else and made it its own genre of horror. And
I think he did that with the first one. I think the first
Yeah.
one you could definitely tell that it was trying to be really serious,
In the
really
beginning,
scary.
yeah.
And then in the second one, it got a bit comical.
It got more comical, and then Army of Darkness
yeah.
is just such a good,
Mhm.
fun movie, which
Mhm.
leads into Ash versus the Evil Dead, which
Mhm,
is
mhm.
that gore, and they turned less from horror movies into and Army of Darkness more into gore movies, I would say.
Okay.
Wow, and that's interesting because I'm seeing here. I'm wondering if this is an updated rating for it, but if at the time it's rated NC-17.
Oh,
Oh,
it probably
really?
was when it was released.
Yeah.
because of the tree
Yeah,
rape
why?
scene.
Oh, okay.
Girl gets raped in the woods by the tree. The evil possesses a tree, and it like strings her up and rapes her.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
So that's rape back then in the early '80s would equal NC-17.
Yeah. No, thank
Okay.
you.
But yeah, just such cool movies, just such good movies with such a cool story in the Necronomicon. And the fact that you
The
never see
Necronomicon, yeah.
evil ever, you never see the evil that's coming.
No, it's just that zoom shot.
It's that
Yeah,
zoom shot
yeah.
of it. It's getting closer. It's getting
Mhm.
closer, and then bad things happen. It possesses other things to do things, but you
yeah,
never see
okay,
the
yeah.
actual evil
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And it's so cool with that. And
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. The camera's just moving through like
Yeah,
the woods,
through the
like
woods,
bushes
yeah.
and trees. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of great filming, like angles and practices done in this.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else. I want to say that
and then the whole idle hands
Idle Hands.
bit in there, like the whole idea that idle hands are the devil's playground, is used a lot through these movies. Like that's why she's all like drawing fast and stuff like that in the first one, and then in Army of Darkness, why is it Army of Darkness or is it? Oh, it's the evil. Which one is it? Is it Evil Dead 2, where he cuts off his hand?
I think that's an Evil Dead 2.
It's Evil Dead 2
That's what leads into.
because because the idle hand gets possessed by the devil, and so he has to cut it off. He's like,
Yeah.
come back here.
Yeah.
And just that whole thing, and they're so fun to watch and so good. It's something that shouldn't have ever been this good and this popular. It was just everything lined up for it, in my mind.
It's a cult classic.
It is.
It's not very
100%.
well known.
But it is used in
popular.
popular culture,
Mhm.
like references to it.
Yes. This is my boomstick.
Hail to the King, baby.
Hail to the King. Yeah. Groovy.
Groovy.
Yeah, just groovy. Yeah.
And this one had the remake.
Oh, and the
'Cause
remake was so
remake,
good.
because I think that's what I kind of
Mhm.
remember more is
Yeah.
the remake.
This one had a remake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The remake was made maybe 5, 6, 10 years ago, and the remake was really good
It's
because I
so
feel the
gory.
remake is what Sam Raimi originally wanted for this film.
Because it is very dark and
It's
very
dark
gory,
and gory,
yeah.
and it's really cool.
Over the
It's
top.
if the remake. I actually really enjoy the remake of The Evil Dead. I really do. The Evil Dead remake is phenomenal. Like I said, I kind of feel like it's the movie that was originally intended to be made, but they
okay.
didn't have the budget or the technology or whatever it was at the time to do it, so it went in a different direction.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really cool movie. Like if maybe it's just me who makes this comparison on that, but I think that's probably why I like it more, because in my mind it's like, this is what I was supposed to get, and this is like horror movie right here. This is like intense, and the other ones were amazing cult
comical,
films.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I kind of got from the.
Yeah.
Did they start that off in the first one, right?
They start some of it was
Some of it kind of
feels
comical.
like partway through the 1st
Uh-huh.
one, it kind of starts to not take itself so seriously, and that's where I think it happened. Because in the very beginning of that movie, it seems like a quite serious, like, camping horror film. Like, they go out to a cabin, friends, and like it's just creepy and like, I don't know, maybe. Love to sit down with Sam Raimi and have a discussion about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sam Raimi, if you could please join us on our retro lunch break
We'll do
podcast.
a whole episode. You just
We can talk
to us
about this movie.
Evil Dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And bring your brother, please. I'd love to meet him. Eddie,
Jim Raimi.
no, that's not his name. I wish I can't remember his name. Eddie, anything you want to add about Evil Dead?
No. I'm good. I think I remember mostly the remake, actually.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up the remake. I didn't
Uh-huh.
know there was one, but it sounds like I'm gonna stay away from it.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much. We'll talk off because I don't want to say too much about the remake because they changed it up a bit. But it's really interesting.
Do we have any favorite lines? Because we kind of said some of our favorite lines already, but
That's pretty much it.
yeah, those are the really iconic ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you really let yourself go. Lines
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
That's one of his lines.
They say that in regular show.
They do that. They
Yeah.
use that line because she
she.
turns into a deadite.
Oh wow, they have names. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's what they're called. So when people are possessed by this evil, they're called deadites.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
Wow.
that's what Ash calls them.
Well, you said regular show, the cartoon?
Yeah. They have a
There's
whole
a- there's a-
episode.
There's a whole episode.
A whole episode.
There's a
that's-
whole episode where the one where they're setting up the movie night,
projection
the scary
movie,
horror
yeah.
movie night.
In
The
the
movie
cemetery.
they play is
Uh-huh.
just a bunch of Evil Dead clips
Yep.
animated.
Yep.
And they're acting them out in the real life, but with zombies
God, did I
instead of
miss
it.
this
Yeah,
episode?
Zombocalypse.
Zombocalypse.
3D.
Zombocalypse, oh
yeah,
my God.
Zombocalypse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the movie that they watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Paid Day Off is the name of the episode. If you
Mhm.
ever want to go back and watch it, or anyone out there who is interested to see how it's been used in pop culture, like in a full 11-minute cartoon skit regular show, Paid Day Off, season 2. Enjoy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
okay.
this is like, oh gosh, maybe
It's on
20,
Hulu.
20 years, 30 years?
30 years. 30
Yeah,
years
because
past
this
it.
movie is 81.
Mhm.
Wow, jeez. And it's being referenced now. And that's a great episode, too.
Yeah.
It's such a good episode.
So you should go watch the movie now.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'll go watch the regular show episode again. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to cut it off there. We've got through some really, really great movies. It sounds like we might go through another episode of this.
Can we just throw one more in there?
Okay. What's the one more?
Because oh my gosh, because I just want to. It's the next one on the list here. It's Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, geez.
I just want to
okay.
take an extra. I know this episode will go a little long, but Eddie
Okay.
and I.
Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and add this in.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust. All right, this is one that I know of. Thank you again for the Cinemassacre guys. I'm aware of it because of them.
Oh, yeah.
This is a movie again that I'm not gonna see because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
And I
All
don't
right.
recommend it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Eddie, let's start with you first.
Because you saw it as a kid.
No.
Oh,
No,
not as a kid,
This one
okay.
I saw it as an adult.
Okay.
Okay, you saw this as
And
an
then I
adult.
had to just recently watch it again.
Okay. Take us into Cannibal Holocaust. Do you want to maybe perhaps explain the plot behind it, or Yeah, let's talk about the plot.
Sure.
Let's talk about the plot first.
The plot is so simple. Is these filmmakers go into Amazon to
Brazil,
I guess
Peru,
Brazil or something like that.
Peru. I think they're going into Brazil from Peru
I
or
think
something like that.
Somewhere down there. Somewhere down there. But the idea is they want to go film these primitive tribes, right? Because they're these
still cannibals. Yeah.
Yeah, they're these like radicalized filmmakers. They like to document like crazy.
Document boys.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie starts off with a news announcer talking about how we're conquering space, and we're spending all this time conquering space when we still have cannibals and cavemen-like people living in the wild here in this world that we've never even encountered.
Exactly.
And so that's where the movie starts, and then they talk about these missing filmmakers who have gone to find them. And so these missing filmmakers have been gone for 6 weeks or something like that, something around there. Because by the way, I just recently watched this because Eddie was like, "You've never seen Cannibal Holocaust? Give it a watch." So I watched it before this show.
Wow. Yeah, so that's the first act. They send a professor, or I forgot.
It's a professor, and he gets
anthropology or something.
Yeah, and he gets a local like guy like like a mercenary kind of guy to go with him to try to find where these kids are.
He's missing, the missing film crew, right?
Missing film crew, yeah.
And that was the first half of the movie is him.
So is this like the Blair Witch Project before the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, this is Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
And this, I guess the reason I want to talk about this movie is because everything that happened after this movie. So we'll get into that once we finish with the thing, and that's why it's a really cool movie, and that's why it ranks on this list because.
Yeah, you definitely want to hear that. But just to quickly summarize, right?
Yeah.
So he eventually does end up finding what happened to the crew, and he finds films, and then he retrieves the film. And then the second part of the movie is he takes it back to the network, right? And they review the films to see if it's because they want to release it to the world to kind of explain look what happened.
What happened to these people?
Yeah.
And the films. It was really cool because the films are their deaths. They're filming their thing, but in the films, each of them die throughout the films because they're trying to filmmaker and meet these cannibals, and these cannibals turn on them and kill them. And it's more of the way that it's filmed is so brilliant because back in 1980 when this movie came out and the way it was filmed, people questioned this movie because it was done such a good job. The film was so grainy and the visuals were so realistic looking for the time because people in Hollywood weren't making special effects like this in 1980. So this had to be real. This was real footage. That's what happened. This movie was banned in Italy, banned in the UK.
Wow. Actually, I heard it was banned in a lot of places.
It was banned in a lot of places, but the two main places were Italy because the director's an Italian director. So what he had done in his genius to make this movie more than it was is he had all the cast agree that for 1 year after this movie was done, they would not be seen in public.
Wow.
So the cast couldn't be found in public because they all went into hiding.
Did they do that for Blair Witch too?
No, the Blair Witch people came out like a month later and went on the talk show. Was like, yeah, it's all fake, and everyone was like, meh. But he had them hide for a year.
A year, geez.
And so people were convinced that this was a snuff film. This film eventually made its way into the UK before they had all their acts for censorship of movies and stuff like that and rating systems, and people would pass around and people were convinced that this was a snuff film. These were actual deaths on this film.
See, I actually have heard of that, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, it's of a snuff film. I've never seen a snuff film either. But
we discussed that before, Eddie. You weren't aware of that. That was a genre or
it's
a thing. Yeah, I didn't even know.
It's weird, right? It's weird.
Super weird.
But there are some scenes in this movie, like the scene where the guy is having the punishment ritual for the girl on the banks of the river. So he's first going to find the people, and he finds one of the tribes people, and he's dragging this lady on, and he's tying her up to this pole, but she's laying on the ground. And then he proceeds to rape her with a rock.
Yeah.
Because I guess she was unfaithful to him or something like that. And then beats her in the head to death with a rock. But it's really well done for 1980 and just the gritty film quality. It's crazy. But to get back to the whole director, so the director had them hide and he wouldn't say anything. So actually in Italy, he was arrested and brought up on murder charges of these actors. And at that point, he had to start revealing things. And there's this one iconic scene from the movie. It's this girl impaled on a pole. It's one of the savages. And I've also heard, real quick before I talk about the scene, was that the people in the movie, those are actual tribal people from those areas that might or might not have actually been cannibals. I don't know if that's true or
What?
not. Some people believe that they might have been like really to survive. They might have been eating people out there. So there's that
Wow.
whole thing, and that's why the mystique of the movie is this real? Is this not? But they were actual tribal people that he got to be in the movie, is what they say.
Wow.
But the scene was really cool because it's this lady impaled on a spike through the anus and out the mouth on a big spike, a big wood spike. And so he eventually had to reveal how that was done because no one could figure it out. So what they did is they built the bottom part of the pole with a bicycle seat, had her sit there. The end part of the spike was made out of balsa wood. She had to open her mouth. They fit it to be as wide as her mouth because her mouth is open as wide as you can get it. Coming out, covered her in a bunch of blood, had her sit still. She didn't blink. It didn't even look like she was breathing. Filmed it. But it was done so well that that's, once again, the Hollywood people were like, there's no way this could be special effects because how could you do this? This is an impossible visual effect. Yeah.
The only thing that was actually really sad about the film was the animals that are killed in the movie.
About
They're
that.
actually
that
was actually real.
That was real. That's brutal. Like you
Yeah.
start off the movie and they're going out and the guy catches something and you're watching it. I'm watching it for the first time. Less than a week ago, and he has this thing, and I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, hey, I got dinner, and he comes over and he's holding this thing, and he pulls out a knife, and he goes to cut it, and the thing starts moving and squealing, and he keeps cutting it, and it's like, you realize, oh my God, he's killing some little animal here just for this movie. Like, that's real. That's not special effects. And it is.
And that's the only sad part.
Yeah, that's
they also
really
end up
sad.
killing a turtle.
Yeah, they do kill a turtle
That
too.
scene
Yeah.
is, oof.
Yeah, it's an intense movie that you do even now, that even after knowing it's fake and everything and watching it, there are scenes like, but how is this fake? Like, it can be so believable because it was done in such that, and there was no style like that before, and we haven't really seen much style. Well, we've seen a ton of that now, but until Blair Witch, we didn't see a lot of that. There weren't a lot of camcorder, small production crew things, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am not.
And I did want to add actually that Eli Roth made The Green Inferno, which I think it's supposed to be similar to this film. Same, it's kind of like same plot where
It seems like a
volunteers
lot of-
go into
yeah.
like the Amazon to help out,
Yeah.
and their plane crashes and they get kidnapped by the primitive people there.
It seems like a lot of Eli Roth's influences for movies with the way he does special effects and gore and just comes from movies like this.
Yeah.
It seems like this is probably a big influence for him.
Wow. That is. I am staying away from this movie.
That one, I think it's a tough one
It is a tough
to
it is a
watch and
tough
it's
one.
a tough one to recommend.
Mhm.
But I was able to watch it, no problem.
Yeah, and thank you for recommending that to me because since I love horror films and just the thing, and I'd never seen this, and it ranks so high on the list, and I was intrigued, and you were like, hey, definitely go watch it. I've seen it. You should, and I'm glad I did.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of 80s. I'm taken aback because of this movie. I mean, I've seen the Cinemasters guys talk about this, but I didn't know to what level that this was. It's that horror is just not my genre. It just really isn't.
Yeah.
It just really isn't. But thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much, Eddie, for telling us these wonderful stories about these wonderful movies. All these, it's a genre that's out there and that has a large audience, and it's going to continue on for a very long time. Our discussion might continue on as well
I
because
hope so.
it sounds like we might have some other movies in the 80s that are of this genre that we could possibly touch on.
Oh, there's a lot.
There's a lot? Okay. So to wrap this up, thank you very much, everybody. Today's closing outro line is quite possibly my favorite line from the movie Bill and Ted. All right, so here we go. If you are us and we are you, then what number are we thinking of right now? And they stand and look at themselves and they say, 69. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Retro Lunch Break.